This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we take a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of all things wrestling video games. My name is George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are playing Wrestling Encore by MDickie. Will it get a rating of Play It Forever or Future Endeavor? Also, more on WWE 2K24, Ultra Pro Wrestling, and the Wrestling Code.
Wow. And as always, please make sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star rating for this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you choose to listen to your podcast, and follow along on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And don't forget, you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/Game Marks Pod, to get early and ad-free access to show notes, exclusive shows, and a whole lot more for just $5. And we may have an announcement in a couple weeks about some things changing with the Discord. Well, more on that a little bit later. John, how are you doing this week, my friend?
I'm doing pretty damn good. We had a whole slew of announcements last week, which
Yes, we did.
couldn't have done it without anyone that listened, so that was great. Last week, we had Jelly Wrestle. I don't think there's much follow-up to be had on that. It was just... It was what
Jelly
it
Wrestle.
was. We'll never touch it again, but you know what? Never say never. There's always a live stream or something where we need
That's
something
true.
to play. Could be Jelly Wrestle. Could be Drunken Wrestlers. Who knows? But for real, we need to talk more about 2K24. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I know you have also. You made GMP Man.
I did. I made GMP Man. So this is my thought for GMP Man. I'm going to take a different approach than what we've done in the past. Usually I just give him all the crazy moves and it's nuts. But the moveset that I'm doing for this year is kind of a mashup. It's some of your favorite wrestlers' moves, some of my favorite wrestlers' moves, and then some of your actual moves that you do in your wrestling.
Oh, when that happened.
When you know, back in the day when you did a wrestle.
So I want to bring back the competition we discussed a few years ago that never happened, where we upload GMP Man, rate him 100, and then we do a little contest where you have to download him, and whoever has the quickest time within a certain date of beating him on like legendary difficulty, you win a prize.
It's like the $1 million AJ Styles challenge, except it's not going to be $1 million.
But show us that it's on legendary difficulty and beat GMP. That's it. Just beat GMP Man
Oh, I
with
like
whoever.
that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I think that would be pretty cool. We could do a little,
good time.
little prize ski. I've been working on, we announced last week, a GMP 24, our little universe mode in 2K24 is coming back. I've worked on the titles. I got the men's and women's world titles done. I hit a little snag with the tag team titles. It's a little bit harder because I was using the old SmackDown tag title template.
Okay.
But there's so much space to like fill in.
Yeah, that's the problem that I was finding with a lot of the tag title designs that I was trying to do as well, where it's just like, what do I do with all this negative space? Like, if you're not picking certain belt designs, like everything can't look like the world title, because then, like, the world title is very nice and it fills in a lot of the space because it's got that cool,
I just
that
put
cool
stuff
design.
over it.
But everything can't look like can't look like that.
I think I'm gonna have to upload it, use like the emboss feature to make like the little designs, then go in and put like our logo and stuff. I think I'm gonna have to do it that way.
Design the outside of a title and then just have it be where it's
it's all right.
Throw it up there on a blank template.
And of course, we will upload all of these when we are done, so you can play along with us if you so choose. I'm very excited for that. Let's talk about our favorite here, our good buddies, Ultra Pro Wrestling. We got some
there's a
more...
different announcement every week, and every time they make an announcement, it makes me more excited to play the game.
And we have to say, we're recording even earlier than we normally do. It's only Monday night. The day last week's episode came out is when we're recording right now. I'm going away on Wednesday, so our usual recording day is shot. I need time to edit and blah, 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 blah. So more stuff might even happen in the meantime. But they announced the British Bulldog, Dean Malenko, Larry Zbyszko, Ernest Miller, Missy Hyatt, and Magnum TA. Now, in the picture, there was also Mikey Whipwreck. There was a whole bunch of others. There's other shadowed out wrestlers we still don't know about that I'm sure are going to be announced shortly. I am so hyped for this game. I can't wait. It's going to be just a beautiful game experience. Like, it's going to look nice. Did you see their April Fool's joke?
The golf, Ultra Pro Golf.
Yeah, Ultra Pro Golf with honestly, the Hal Haney art.
Make it a mini game. Make it a mini game within Ultra Pro Wrestling. Why not?
For a second, I was like, "Oh, is this a mini game within?" And then I was like, "4." And then I was like, "Oh, it's April 1st." And then I realized what they were doing. But
speaking of April 1st, what did you put together for art?
I put together Rumble Roses 3, and it went over like a fart in church. Nobody really, I try to do them. I scheduled it at 7 a.m. so people don't think about like it being April Fool's Day. I got a few people off the rip.
Last year was Thunder, right?
Thunder went off.
Thunder was
whew. People were mad that it was fake.
Did you see what Nintendo did?
No.
Nintendo's was great. Nintendo was introducing the retro arcade version of the Virtual Boy.
Oh, I just had glanced over that, and I was like, "Oh,
people
cool."
were strapping their Nintendo Switch to their head. I was like, "This is one." It got me for a second because I was like, "Who wants this? Who's asking to play these? Yeah. Who's asking to play Virtual Boy Mario Tennis? Who's asking for this game?"
There were some good ones also. There were definitely some good ones. My favorite was Spittin' Chicklets posted that Phil Kessel resigned with the Leafs, and people got pissed. Like, we don't need him. Oh, that was good. But Ultra Pro Wrestling, very excited. Now, we haven't spoke about this game in a long time, at least in like a positive light. But
they keep making updates, and I think they did something that's going to pique your interest there, Johnny boy.
I'm starting to, see the light a little bit. I'm getting a little excited. I'm starting to understand what this game is, and in my opinion, it's a passion project. It's someone who's just having fun, who loves wrestling. You can tell they like wrestling. They're a wrestling fan. With the way they're constructing this roster, with indies, with legends, with current day. Stan Hansen has been added, which is cool. Some people are asking if it was his first game, and I actually posted links to Giant Graham and said, if you like Stan Hansen, check this game out. It's one of the best out there. Dean Malenko, I'm seeing some similarities here with these two rosters we just announced. Shark Boy and Perry Saturn is going to be in the game. Perry Saturn.
That's now a day one purchase for Johnny Clash when it's available.
That actually is someone I suggested to Ultra Pro to get. So let's see if that happens, because him in another No Mercy like setting is game over. That's it. That's all I want.
That's it. That's immediate play it forever, regardless of the quality of the game.
Plus,
give Clash all of the Saturn games.
I've been nagging the Major Boys to make a Saturn bendy also. So
God, I'd be so happy if they made a Saturn and a Mortis bendy.
Just because every time Mitch from Hassle Toys posts anything, I just write, "This isn't Saturn."
He's gonna make it one day, and then you're gonna have to
I'll buy like 3.
What is the actual name of the
Gizmos and Gadgets? Or
no,
something?
it's Grapplers and Gimmicks. Yeah.
Virtual Basement, the Wrestling Code also posted, "Get ready to feel the tremors as something massive on the horizon. Keep your eyes peeled for our teaser dropping soon. It's about to shake up the game like never before." And it was very clearly a video of King Kong Bundy from behind. Now, if you didn't see the video and you're watching on YouTube right now, I'm going to do something with my thumb. Ready? That's the video. It's just a big bald man from behind going like this. Huh?
But you knew it was King Kong Bundy.
You knew it was Bundy. I was like, wait, it could also be like Butterbean.
No, I think that is very clearly King Kong Bundy.
You see the black singlet, and it's Bundy.
It's cool.
Pretty cool. I'm excited. It looks like they're ramping up some stuff once again. We get on them also for not having a demo, not releasing anything, and they made comments that, listen, we're only a 12-person team. We're working on this game in our free time. We're doing motion capture for literally everyone. It's going to be something cool. We're going to look forward to it and take it from there. We're going to judge it from there. There's hype around UPW because we know the game style. We've seen the actual game footage. We've seen the pre-alpha. We've seen everything they post. It just looks great. Like, you can't not think that game's going to be good. Again, the jury's going to be out once the game is actually released. It could suck. I don't think it will, but the same with Virtual Basement. We have to give them the same benefit of the doubt and wait for the game to actually be released.
I mean, and this is not just strictly about these two games. We could have had this conversation over the course of any of the indie wrestling games that have come out over the course of us doing this podcast. Action Arcade Wrestling, Retromania.
Oh, Retromania took forever, and we had no problem giving it to them. But think
about what the trajectory of what we saw for Action Arcade Wrestling. Like, it was such a different presentation where, like, wrestlers can have, like, superpowers and shoot lasers and lightning out of their hands, and you're like, like, you could walk around with a lightsaber. Like,
it was a forgotten game.
It was so different and so cool, and you went, okay, screenshots of this look interesting, but how is it going to play? And then you loaded it up, and, like, the gameplay was great. Like, it like, the controls were very simple, easy to pick up, and I feel like that's always the best part of a new indie game, when you pick up the controllers, you're like, I already know what I'm doing, and I've never played this game, just because the layout is so not simple, but, like, it's very forgiving.
There might have been some also stuff that kind of staggered that game's momentum, but but
the core of the game itself is still great.
Yeah, great game. I would play that right now if you asked me to. But we are here to talk about Wrestling Encore by our favorite MDickie. Are you ready to dive in?
I'm so ready.
Let's do it. Looking to add the newest wrestling figures to your lineup? There's no better spot to pick up your next figure than the Wrestling Collector Shop.
Started by collectors for collectors around the globe, Wrestling Collector Shop has been serving the fans the latest and greatest in wrestling action figures since 2002. So the next time you're looking for the newest wrestling collectible to add to your collection, make sure to go to WrestlingCollectorShop.com and use code GameMarks to save yourself 10% on your order.
That's 10% off your order with code GameMarks at WrestlingCollectorShop.com.
All right, the deep dive is brought to you by Wrestling Collector Shop, our friends and the newest partner of the Game Marks podcast. Make sure to go to Wrestling Collector Shop, use code GameMarks, save yourself 10% on your order. Wrestling Encore, released in 2005 on the PC via CD-ROM. Published and developed by MDickie. Other wrestling games available in 2005. You've got WWE Raw and SmackDown Mobile, WWE WrestleMania 21, WWE Aftershock, WWE Day of Reckoning 2, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, and Fire Pro Wrestling Returns.
Every time we scroll past those Raw and SmackDown mobiles, I consider putting them on for the next week.
No, I actually have... Depending on what you've got put down for next week's game, I got a suggestion.
All right, we'll discuss when we get to the end. But pretty much, this is a remake of Wrestling Empire. Not the Wrestling Empire we know from a few years back.
This is capital M.
Capital Empire. So the description is, everything so far has been a warm-up act. Get ready for the main event. Following the cult success of 2004's Wrestling Empire, the world's biggest and most innovative wrestling simulator is back and better than ever for a Wrestling Encore. Now, it's everything you pretty much expect it to be. It's an MDickie game. We all know what they look like. We all know what they feel like and how to play. But we're going to scale back a lot right now. We're scaling back.
See, it's
20 years.
I would say it's 2024
Just crazy
now.
to say. I almost didn't say it because it sounded wrong, but it's 20 years.
Wrestling Empire, yeah, Wrestling Empire with EM comes out in 2021. Yeah, so just about.
It's wild. Now, there's something to be said that nothing has really changed graphically
Well,
since
so
it came out, but that's his style.
I feel like this is the charm of
Right.
the MDickie series. Either you're fully on board for the graphic style and you go for the gameplay and the long term career story mode. I mean, we've seen the screenshots in our discords. There are people who post screenshots from Wrestling Empire that it's like the year is 2075 and so and so has just retired after like 60 years of wrestling. Like it's just like
So much
you get
fun,
these it's insane. It's so much fun. There's such like crazy storylines, and this is the basis of that. Like you can see and this itself is a remake of the original Wrestling Empire. So we're already in a remake of a remake.
Yeah.
Like by the time you get to 2021, it's a remake of a remake of a remake.
So I don't believe I've ever played Wrestling Empire, and I gotta say these MDickie games from way back then are very, very hard to research because they are on either CD-ROM or you downloaded them from his website, which no longer works. There were demos available, but again, they're very buggy and sometimes they don't work on your console of choice. Now I'm looking at Wrestling Empire, and it is very stagnant. It is like it is 3D, but this one is solidified as the first real 3D MDickie game. And you can see why when you play it. It's the camera angles. It's the customization. Most people play this game for the customization, much like Fire Pro.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
a sandbox wrestling game by definition.
Right.
Like it is everything you want creatively for a wrestling game.
Cult success, and that we read in the description, is the best way to describe these games because there is that cult following behind them, and they love them. And I'll admit, I was a hater at first, much like Fire Pro. This seems to be a trend here. I have Wrestling Empire downloaded on Steam, my phone. I have Wrestling Revolution 3D on my phone. Sometimes you're just in the mood to play a Wrestling MDickie game, and
I feel like the way that the MDickie wrestling games work is you look at them, or like from at first glance, you either just see gameplay, you just see screenshots, and you go, "This is going to be a ridiculous game." And either you avoid it completely because you think that it's going to be a ridiculous game, or you try it and you find that it's a ridiculous wrestling game for the best possible reason. It's a ridiculous amount of customization, match types, a roster with I feel like it only gets bigger, but this game's got like over 200 wrestlers in it with different federations and promotions that they're working in. Like there's such an expanse of customization and how I would play it versus how you would play it versus how someone else would play it. All of us can have different rosters and different experiences and different favorite match types, and we could all play the same match and have them turn out completely different. And I don't know, there's just like a weird, or a not weird, a variable, like a creative variable to every match. Like you can change so many small details even before you load into the match. There's, you could just pick a simple preset, but then within the preset, you can customize the settings of the match from there. There's just so much that you can do even before you get into the match.
It could be a little overwhelming because you're not just customizing the arena, the crowd. You're customizing the shape of the ring, what the ring looks like. You're customizing. You could, we're going to get into it a little bit later. There's some mods available. There's some texture packs and all of that. Anything here. You could change the number of referees if you want. You could put a steel cage. You could get barbed wire. Anything. You could do anything in these games. And it's the same way it is now.
I always think of the first MDickie game that we played was Wrestling Revolution 3D, right?
3 or 2D, I don't remember which one.
I feel like we did 3D, then we went back and did 2D, and then we did Empire, if I recall correctly. I may be switching them around, but I just remember on our YouTube, I'm pretty sure it's up there. You can see it. There's a point in a match where John and I had stacked like 3 or 4 tables on top of it, and it got to the point that the tables were stacked so high that people who were originally eliminated from the match were getting other people eliminated because they were making the tables break and other people were falling through the tables, and that was making them get eliminated or like fall out of the ring in a rumble. Like, it was just complete chaos, and we were hysterically laughing the entire time because it was funny and we were confused, and it was just the most ridiculous possible experience.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what these games are. You could stack light tubes, chairs. You can move the announce table into the ring if you want and jump off a ladder into that. I will say, I'm going to read the gameplay description in a little bit from MDickie's website, but playing the new ones, there's a certain physic to them where you could do chain wrestling. You could reverse a Canadian destroyer into a pile driver, into a suplex. You could just keep going. This one was a little more grounded. It's still crazy, but not as floppy as the newer games.
I feel...
I don't know if that's the right word to use. But
I feel like the newer games have more... like, it's almost like a physics-based engine suddenly, where it's like... It's a physics-based engine where it's low gravity, where this feels like everyone just kind of jumps really high in this one, where like you almost like... I don't want to say like all-starsy, but that's the only thing I can think of, where it's just like everyone can jump really, really high and really, really far. And it's just, I don't know. It's not as back and forth.
Yeah. That's what, I don't know. Like you
hit a big move, you hit a big move.
You don't flop around as much, but you do. Like you still hit the mat and you'll hit 3 other people and start bleeding and injure someone. And, yeah. It's a little crazy.
But there's, you touched earlier on the light tubes, but it's light tubes, tables, chairs, barbed wire tables, panes of glass. It's almost too many weapons to name, but I feel like the ones that always stood out were the ones that weren't like actively available in like other wrestling games, like panes of glass or things wrapped in barbed wire. Like I feel like you always had like the barbed wire bat. Like that was in No Mercy and stuff like that. But to get a table wrapped in barbed wire, or to get
flames, a
flamethrower, because flames in like putting because you could set anything on fire, right? When you go through light tubes, you get set on fire. You can set the tables on fire, and I don't think you could do that in the WWE games. No, SmackDown vs. Raw,
the old ones,
06, you absolutely could by then. But like, still, never makes it any less cool. Like even in 2K24, you set a table on fire, it's still a cool thing to experience.
Yeah, for sure. Now, from MDickie's website, it says it takes the same revolutionary contact-driven career mode and fulfills its potential with improved graphics, animation, sound, and gameplay. Now he's referring to Wrestling Empire, as we said. Create your own wrestling wannabe from scratch and then immerse them in a gigantic universe of over 200 wrestlers spread across 6 different major promotions. Negotiate the big money deals that'll make you rich, win the high-profile matches that will make your name, and develop the backstage relationships that will determine your fate as you play through an endless schedule of possibilities. Or simply blow off steam with the wildest in-ring action that the PC can handle, featuring up to 30 characters on screen and up to 100 fully interactive items and weapons.
Damn.
Now, there's something to be said here. You don't see that in any other game, the fact that he could have 30 wrestlers on screen at once, which is nuts.
Which I honestly think is what we did in that match that we did in Wrestling Revolution.
I think so too.
Look, if you're not interested in playing this game, maybe it's not your cup of tea. Go on YouTube. There are hundreds of videos that you can see of it in the original Wrestling Empire, in Wrestling Encore, in the Wrestling Empire, which I feel like we have to figure out. We should call this the first one. It should be Capital Empire, like Wrestling okay. Capital Empire, and then there's Wrestling Empire. But Wrestling Empire that came out in 2021, Encore, anything in between. you can find matches where it's 30 wrestlers in a ring and it's the same customization. It can be a ton of weapons in the ring. It could be a cage match. It could be, it's not just, it's 30 wrestlers in the ring and it's just a Royal Rumble. It could be pinfall only. There are so many ridiculous matches that you can have that just devolve into absolute chaos where people are walking by and getting set on fire because someone else did a move that caused this chain reactions of things to explode. And it's just, it's almost like you're watching like an Animaniacs cartoon, or like Looney Tunes or something.
I love the Animaniacs. So good. There was something. Okay, so the career, something he has still kept true to the original, just evolved upon. It's so cool that you finish a match, you could just walk past the curtain. You're now backstage. You could, like it says, build a relationship. So you could go talk to anyone around there. You could fight them. You could challenge them to a match. It's just, he took what they tried to do in the SmackDown games and just said, I could do that better. And while we say the graphics aren't the best, this isn't the best, blah, 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 there's so much in here that is just innovative. And if you follow him on Twitter, he will tell you how innovative he was for a lot of this stuff. And that's fine because it's true. You were not seeing this anywhere. He laid the groundwork for so much stuff in the future. And yeah, I mean, still going today. Now, let's take a quick break and let's come back and break down these federations.
All right.
All right. So, like we said, over 200 wrestlers. They're all, as he puts it, wannabes of actual wrestlers. But there are different federations you have here. And some of them are repeated later on and stick with all of his games, stay true to form. You have Federation Online. You have All American Wrestling, UK of Wrestling, Rising Sun Pororisu. I never know how to say that word. I'm not even going to try correcting it. Maple Leaf Grappling, Super Lucha Libre, The Wrestling School, Hollywood, and Deceased with a little halo on the icon. It's pretty funny.
And again, can't stress enough, 200 wrestlers that are, what was the word that he used?
Wannabes?
Wannabes of, and the likeness is close enough that you can figure it out, but you can go in and change things if you want, make them who you want it to be, rename and all that stuff. It's crazy. Anytime, like, I'm so used to it being, you compare it to a game. We did WWE 2K23 a couple weeks ago. That has 200 plus wrestlers in it. And that's a game that came out in 2022.
Yeah.
And now think of how long it took, like you were saying before, he will mention the fact that WWE games or any other popular AAA game has to kind of catch up to the things that he was putting into games. And this is it. The only other games that I can think of that had this many wrestlers dating this far back are the Fire Pro games.
Yeah. And there's just something about, I guess the Fire Pro games, they don't look true to form most of the time to the actual wrestler.
Yeah.
These really do. So I think that's where it comes from, that you're getting a more true. Now, something also to be said that the graphics aren't the best, so you could fit all of this stuff in there, which is great. And I think that's why he keeps it the way it is, especially now where he could expand it and go bigger and better, but he's just going to put more content into the game rather than make it prettier, because his fan base doesn't care how pretty the game is. It's been the same for years and they're fine with it. So why change it?
It's wild.
Let's talk about the artwork here, because the same MDickie logo he uses today is on there with Wrestling Encore. Now it's got the wrestling ropes behind it. I like that he kind of still uses that with like Wrestling Empire and such. And all
It's
of
not
the
broke.
wrestlers with the title belt right front and center. Now, we also have a picture here of someone with an actual CD-ROM jewel case, which came with an instruction booklet and everything. Now, on his website, I did see that's where you would purchase it. And you could purchase the regular PC version as well if you so choose. Now, the art style and the graphics. We kind of already hit on some of the stuff, but I want to talk about like the HUD. I want to talk about the environment. Your HUD is very small and it's simple. All you have is the wrestler's name. You have the green, which means good health, red, which means bad health. Very acclaimed style, but that's how it should be.
It doesn't leave much to the imagination, but in the best possible way. It is simple, it is clean, it is straight and to the point.
Yeah, and you know, some things are a little like the fonts he uses and whatnot, but
sure.
Who cares? At the end of the day, you're not looking at that stuff. We are because we have to, but some other people are not. I just like the attention to detail and like the backgrounds. They kind of remind me of the background backstage from WCW Mayhem a little bit.
Yeah, that's
the cattle prod
accurate. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They I feel like it kind of took the best of everything. Like there's I can't remember what setting it was, but there's one setting, I see it here in our notes, that it almost looks like it's the hallway from No Mercy.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's intentional or not, there's so many environments that you're like, oh, this kind of reminds me of this. This kind of reminds me of that. And it's like we were talking before with action arcade wrestling and Retromania. When there's something familiar about a game, whether it's the environments, the controls, the wrestlers that you're playing as, it just helps with the experience. Like it may not check all the boxes, but if it checks, a certain amount where the controls are good and there's familiar environments, but maybe you don't know any of the wrestlers, that may make you more inclined to be like, oh, I actually kind of want to put some more time into this game.
Yeah. Did you know? Did you know the Wrestling Encore box version CD-ROM was $14.99, including source code extracts, graphical templates, and demos of all previous games?
Did you know a demo and a trial version of the game were available to download up to 3 times?
Did you know a real-world patch was released which allowed the game to be reskinned to mimic the WWF and real-life assets? Now that's the cool part. So if you're... I guess back then you had to be a little tech savvy to download a reskin and upload it to a game.
What was that software? I don't know if you were doing this back then, but there was like before OBS and Streamlabs and everyone was streaming stuff. There was this free software that you can use that literally would just record the games that you played.
No.
So if you
didn't do any of that.
If you had a match that you were playing in this game, then you were just like, oh, I'm booking my fantasy fed or whatever, you could record yourself playing this game, and then you could go back and be like, okay, guys, like me and my friends have this fed. I played the matches. These are how the matches played out. And then you can like show them the video in your Windows Media Player, like later on.
Can't say I ever did that, but I'm sure I found a way to like.
I can't remember what the name of that program was.
I know later on you were able to do it in like just QuickTime.
Oh yeah, you were able to do it in QuickTime, and then like you would buy video cards, and it would have you would buy like an NVIDIA thing. It would be like our new demo software where you can, record everything that happens on your screen at all times.
Like shout out Riverside, hashtag not an ad. Yeah, I think there was a WWF reskin and later on a TNA one as well, which was pretty cool.
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't catch wind of that.
I didn't watch TNA. Probably around this time, but I didn't play this game, so it didn't matter. Now, in 2006, MDickie, who had previously published one of MDickie's games, Boxer's Story, contacted him again to make a version of his newest release, Wrestling Encore, for the British professional wrestling promotion One Pro Wrestling. However, legal complications arose due to 1PW not having the video game license to the American professional wrestlers working for them. In order to counteract this issue, 1PW attempted to just buy the rights of the whole game off of Dickie instead of the rights to sell the version of the game he had created for the promotion at their live shows, with the added benefit of him getting to meet the wrestlers working for the promotion, including I'm putting two names together, Bret Hart and Jeff Jarrett. MDickie declined the offer, and that is just very on brand for MDickie. We know he's proud of his work, and
I was to say, I think you make a game.
Yeah, he's better off for not taking that offer. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
So pretty cool. But let's talk about some ratings and reviews here. Some R&R. We're gonna sit back and relax. We have 3 here. We have uptodown.com, which is a 3.5 out of 5. These are all spots where you used to be able to download the game. You have CNET download, which is a 4.1 out of 5, and the Wrestling Encore website, which also leads to the same as uptodown.com, which I believe is just like a downloading hub website, a 3.5 out of 5 as well. So good to overall really good.
Yeah. I feel like
those Steam ratings back then on a CD-ROM. So
I feel like for the most part, all of the MDickie wrestling games have been received well, at least the ones that we've talked about, and from what we've heard from fans of this podcast that have played and have been with MDickie games for a long time. It's very, at least in our experience, it's very rare that you've heard someone say something bad that have played them. Some people have, John admittedly before didn't have the greatest opinion of him, but now that he's played a couple of them and he kind of understands the charm of them, you don't have to like it.
You just got to understand it.
Yeah, I feel like that's, and you know what? It's not just about these games; it's about any games. If you don't understand the appeal of how great WrestleFest was, maybe Retromania is not appealing to you. Maybe if you think pixel graphics are stupid, maybe Retromania is not for you.
Yeah, I don't know. Pretty cool, but I think it's time to give our overall rating, because right now it is time to rate the game.
Look at that.
The game!
George, you realize it's WrestleMania season and we're not even going to be doing a WrestleMania themed episode?
It's crazy.
We kind of ran out of them.
Well, because I was going to say that we've done, unless we're going to do a remaster of a WrestleMania game.
Only 19. That's it. That's the only one I'll agree to.
The only other thing I could think of is that we do a impromptu video game history of Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels.
Anyway, George, Wrestling Encore. Will you play it forever? Or future endeavor?
I'm going to give this a play it forever for the longevity that this game has had, and for the fact that this game, along with the original Capital Empire, it kind of sets the stage for everything that we've got today.
Wow. Okay.
What about you, Johnny Clash? Wrestling Encore. Will you play it forever? Future endeavor.
Like I said, I do have a bunch of MDickie games downloaded already on Steam and on my mobile device, but it's been a while since we've split. I'm gonna say future endeavor here.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go back and play this one. Probably fun, very fun, but just not for me.
Okay.
That's it.
Leave the memories alone.
I don't hate it. It's just not my kind of game. I'd rather play the updated modern version where that I could just play a couple, run through the story, and that's it. So,
all right.
Future endeavor. Sorry. Now, we also have to say that there is an open invite for MDickie on this podcast if he so chooses or is listening once again, because last time when Wrestling Empire came out, we extended the invite, and we understand he was very burnt out from the release of the game, and rightfully so, and we respect that. But anytime you want to come chat about your games, we are right here. We know one of our listeners has been in contact with MDickie for years, and he's the one that usually puts us in contact. So pretty cool.
Yeah,
Open
would love to sit down and talk about just the process of making a game nowadays to what it was in 2006 would be a hell of a conversation. It could probably fill an entire episode.
Yeah, and talk about the upcoming stuff. He's still posting about, I'm not sure what it is exactly, but he keeps posting about like a jail type game and some other stuff. They all look like the Wrestling Revolution games and whatnot, but I don't think they are all wrestling games.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
All for it.
All right. Well, with that, John, would you like to get into this week's soft lock question?
Oh, this is a good one.
All right, the soft lock is brought to you by our friends over at W. Use code GameMarksPod at w.gg to save yourself 10% on your order. And remember, W tastes good, it's jitterless free energy, and hey, what the hell? At the very least, you get to save yourself some money. W.gg. Use code GameMarksPod. Now, today's question for the soft lock, and before we get into it, the soft lock is a segment on the podcast where one of our mega marks, or in this case, some weirdo who submits his own question, is a segment where we get a question of the week, a topic to debate or discuss. It's a question of the week with a fancy name. Let me see if I'm getting this name right here. This comes from Carouse from Long Island, and their question is, if you could only pick one, would you rather erase all of your gaming memories that have ever existed or never be able to play a game again?
So if you could pick one, listen, everything you've ever known, your Street Fighters, your Mortal Kombats, your Mickey Mouse capades, your NHL 94s, you have no recollection of any of it ever happening from this moment right now. Or you keep all those memories, but you can never play a game again.
That's a tough question, man.
Now, we've mentioned before how some of our favorite memories are in games. Me and you, our friends when we're little, the No Mercies.
We're not friends without video games.
Now, here's the thing.
This doesn't exist. Not only the podcast, like our friendship doesn't exist.
But here's the thing. You could always rediscover a game. Like the magic won't be there, but you could be like, oh, let me play No Mercy, but it'll probably end up being like how we just played Wrestling Encore.
Yeah, where there's like newer versions of it. Like, oh man, that's tough. Do you have like
I don't.
I mean, you came up with this question. Did you come up with this because you were just like, given the opportunity, I would do this? I wonder what George thinks and what everyone else thinks. Like,
oh, I'm torn too. I just wanted to come up with something cool.
No, this is a hard question.
Like, I remember a lot of what I've played, but I think I would keep all that and like all the laughs and moments and just not play a game again.
I mean, gut initial reaction was to say that I would just not play video games anymore but
that'll free up a lot of time.
but because I'm thinking like, all of the memories that I have, because you got to remember, it's not like all of the memories that you have of playing with your friends, for argument's sake, let's say all of the friends that you have those memories with are now married with children, they've moved away to other states. It's not like you get to regain all those memories and go back and play those games with your friends.
That's
like,
me. I'm that guy now.
They're all moved on to the next stage of their life. They're not going to be like, hey, do you want to stay up till 3:00 in the morning and play Tony Hawk with me? Like they've got things to do.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think I would keep it all.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with. I think I'm going to keep it all, and then I wouldn't be able to play anymore.
I would have nothing to do.
And then that would be the end of this podcast.
That would be the end. We could still talk about them. We just can't play them. We just have to.
Yeah, we would hypothesize about You see these screenshots of this new game that's coming out, man. That looks cool.
Yeah, that would be it.
Can't wait to
hear
listen
about
to
Ultra Pro Wrestling. We'll never play it.
Can't wait to hear someone else talk about how great that game was.
You can still watch YouTube, I guess.
Oh,
but
yeah.
we now ask the question to you. Let us know, if you could only pick one, would you rather erase all of your gaming memories that ever existed or never be able to play a game again?
Again, thank you to Johnny Clash for that question.
John Clash, thanks.
Man, that was a heavy question there, man. This is a weird way to end the episode. But I see what you put in the notes. It's an arcade game. Appreciate that. My suggestion was going to be a game that I recently have gotten back into, that we have talked about and said that we were going to play multiple times on this podcast. I think we finally should just do it. My suggestion was going to be that we finally do Supercard.
You know, I hovered it today. We're going to have to break it up into a season or so. Or, I don't know, we'll work out how we're going to... It's too much to cover, and it's going to keep going, so...
Well, I'll say it's going to be a massive roster. So it's going to be like, this game's roster is 1,000 different cards, but the core gameplay is still the same. They just kind of changed the presentation since the last time that I played.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and we'll figure out how to break it up and do the notes and it'll be fun. And all that. Yeah, it'll be great. Supercard, finally.
We're finally covering Supercard. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. YouTube.com/GameMarksPodcast for our videos of playthroughs and everything else. There's 4, almost 5 years of playthroughs. It's great. Go and check it out. It's a lot of content. GameMarksPod.com/shop for all of our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for all of our shirts. Patreon.com/GameMarksPod for show notes, access to the early and ad-free shows. You can be a part of these live recordings with me and John and the rest of the crew that come and hang out with us each and every week at GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. And please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell.
The baby's sleeping.
Very quiet bell. I love that. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com and make sure to go follow at Dylan Postel, at The Joe Shoes, at Affairs Pod, at Going Postal Pod, because, hey, we're all a part of a little pod family now. It's called Pod Exchange. Make sure to go follow at Pod Exchange. That's PODXCHANG. And, yeah, John, big things coming in the future for this podcast, our friends' podcast, little family collective we got going on. But for right now, whenever you're ready, sir, do that thing.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.